Good morning, PTNI's Daily Show. Happy Tuesday morning. Happy to have you here. My name is Alan. I'll be your host today, serving as COO of ICE and also faculty member in our fitness athlete division. We're going to do Technique of the Week today on Tuesday. Special guest, you can't really see his face, but we've got Mitch Babcock here as our demo patient. So today, what are we talking about? We're talking about ways to assess ankle mobility beyond just pure dorsiflexion. So often we check closed chain dorsiflexion with the lunge test on the wall. But there are other ways to assess ankle mobility beyond dorsiflexion. So I want to show you lateral tibial glide, and I want to show you the table test to look at midfoot stability and see what's going on with that foot, especially somebody that you might have that's collapsing into pronation, valgus collapse at the ankle with squatting, or maybe you have a runner doing the same thing. So first thing we're going to assess is lateral tibial glide. So I'm going to have Mitch relax one leg. I am going to stabilize right at the talus, and now I want Mitch to actively try and externally rotate and abduct his foot and see, here I'm just looking, can he actually drive his knee outside of his foot, or do we have something going on there mobility-wise? Do we have something going on there weakness-wise? From there, we're going to do the table test. We've learned this test from Chris Johnson, who uses it with runners. What we're going to do is we're going to find where the first met meets the medial cuneiform. So find that navicular, move anterior. Here, pistol grip, stabilize. Bring this other hand directly over that first hand. Wrap around the bottom of the foot. Do not block superior up at the ankle. You will block the motion we're actually trying to assess. So wrap that second hand around, stabilize your first hand, and now ask your patient to bring that knee to 90 degrees. Really sink in, stabilize here. Don't be a wuss here. Really use your strength. And now ask the patient to, again, try and move and see, can they drive outside? Or if you lock that motion down, do they have no mobility? Don't be lax here. Again, if I'm lax here, Mitch can just roll his foot off and sneak some motion. So really lock in that motion, ask them to drive out and assess what's going on at the midfoot. Is there enough mobility? Or can we expect this person to need to try and sneak some mobility out of their foot? And that's where we'll see that valgus collapse with a squat or with a run. And why we care about that is that when the foot collapses, the knee has to take a lot more force and the hip has to do a lot more work. So that person might be coming to you complaining of lateral hip pain. They might be coming to you and complaining about medial knee pain. And we can assess that with the table test. Now, a manual intervention here that we like to do is to bring the foot down, stabilize, and bring almost into that inversion sprain test here. Stabilize at the fibula. Somebody that's had a lot of ankle sprains is not going to like this. If they have symptoms here, back off, bump into those symptoms a little bit, and then we're just going to give some glides here at the fibular head, down the peroneals as well. We can do some soft tissue work here, but we're going to stabilize. If they do have symptoms, after you've done a little bit of manual therapy here, you can then go back in and see, can they tolerate that inversion test a little bit better. That's a great manual intervention. Somebody like me, that test is very, very painful and stiff on me versus some folks who might have no problem at all. Again, folks who've had a lot of ankle sprains, somebody who's had a recent ankle sprain is really not going to like that. So back off, bump into those symptoms very slightly, mobilize, and then I'm going to show you some exercises out in the gym to work dorsiflexion a little bit better than just stretching the calf. So we'll leave Mitch here to eat his peanut M&Ms, and we'll go out into the gym. Here we go. All right, so I've got a couple things here that I want to show you. The very first thing is a way to perform that self-tibial glide. So again, we're going to be in that deep squat position, almost that running position, whoever your athlete is. Self-stabilize down to the ankle and actively drive out. I like to give myself a pistol grip here at the malleolus, the medial malleolus. Drive that knee out actively. Don't let that foot come up. How much can you drive out and self-mobilize that joint without letting your foot roll off the surface? So that's a great self-mobilization. That's a great warm-up. Something else I like to do combining that is get a moderate resistance band, throw your foot in around the knee. So this is an R&T technique, a reactive neuromuscular technique. We want to feed the dysfunction here. So I want that band, if I don't fight it, to pull me into that valgus of the knee. So I want to now self-stabilize and drive out, resist that dysfunction through the ankle. So we can self-stabilize here, and now I'm actively driving out and working, driving that knee outside of my foot. That's a great way to strengthen the hip, but also just self-mobilize, work that motion eccentrically. So the self-mobilization with a box or low stool and the R&T technique with the band as well are great ways to start to really grease up that lateral tibial glide. The next thing I want to show you is a deficit lunge. So the ankle in question that we're having mobility issues with, try and get a good angle here. We're going to put at a deficit, so we're going to have that foot, whatever foot it is, up on a high deficit. So here I've got a 45-pound plate. I'm going to sink now into a lunge. Again, really trying to emphasize driving that knee outside of the foot, that lateral glide without watching for a valgus collapse down at the ankle or letting that heel come up because our ankle is tight, whether it's ankle mobility in the joint or soft tissue. So sinking down into that lunge. As we sink down, fighting to keep that foot flat, drive that knee outside, stand back up. If the patient can show you good form there, we can build that deficit up even more. So now I'm going to stack another plate here, and now we can really start to work that ankle mobility. Drive, 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 drive. Don't let your foot come up, don't let your heel come up. Drive forward. We can even add some overpressure in here with our hands. Touch that opposite knee down. We can here too, once we're in this deep position, use our hands and add a little bit more pressure and really start to grease up that ankle really good. Might start to feel a pinch here. We can add a band in to help with that pinch, a little bit of posterior glide as well. We can do a lot with this deficit lunge position. Last thing I want to show you is what I do a lot for my ankles. So if you know me, I have the world's tightest ankles. So what has helped me a lot, a couple different things we can do with a really, really heavy load. Again, a deficit here in a low box. What we're gonna do, this is an 88-pound kettlebell. So the first thing we can do is a lot of eccentrics for the soleus. So some new research that just came out past week or two shows the most effective thing to lengthen the soleus is eccentrics compared to concentrics and compared to just passive stretching. So I've got a deficit here, heel below my toes. Now I want to do a seated calf raise against a heavy load and then fight all the way down. I like to do 5-second eccentrics, finishing with my heel as far below as my toe as we can. And then just repping those out. I like to dose out 8 sets of 5 with a 5-second eccentric. For most folks, as they go through this, they'll be able to get their heel deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's why we use the deficit. If we do this on the floor, we're not really getting full range of motion of the soleus muscle or the tendon. So that's why we want that deficit. If we get to the point where we can touch our heel to the floor, that person probably doesn't need to do this anymore, but we can build this deficit up some more, just like we did with the lunge, and get deeper and deeper and deeper into that muscle and into that tendon. This same position, we can also just hang out here with that heavy weight and rock a really passive creep stretch. Here, 3 to 5 minutes is what I like to dose out. Can start to feel uncomfortable in the ankle, which is good. That tells us we're probably challenging some tissue if it starts to get really, really, really uncomfortable. And again, while we're sitting here too, we can practice driving that knee outside of the foot and get that lateral tibial glide in and get that midfoot and rear foot motion in addition to just stretching the ankle. Find this to be much, much more effective, especially for folks who are squatting a lot, for running a lot. This is a lot more functional than just stretching your calves on a step or against the wall, as we're mainly touching gastroc there, and a lot of these folks actually need some soleus work So that's another exercise I'd like to dose out. Some heavy eccentrics through full range of motion of the tendon. And then I like to hang out here in that new range and stretch there a little bit before I come back up, and then spend just a lot of time here inducing a lot of creep, 3 to 5 minutes a leg, once a day or so. Really beneficial. Some folks who are squatting a lot, weightlifters, power lifters, I will give them that passive creep stretch and have them do it on their rest interval. So they're often taking 3 to 5 minutes between a set of heavy squats anyways. Rock that stretch in between each set and actually strengthen through that range of motion that you're getting in every rest set. I find that to be very beneficial. So we talked about assessing dorsiflexion, kind of the old-fashioned way, just looking at closed chain with the lunge test, where we showed the lateral tibial glide. We showed the table test, courtesy of Chris Johnson, looking at is something going on midfoot, is something going on rear foot, and then showed a couple different ways to help folks grease up their lateral tibial glide, to improve their closed chain dorsiflexion, to lengthen soleus and the common tendon with some eccentrics, and also really get a good creep stretch with heavy weight here. Here you have to go heavy. That is a stiff tendon, that is a strong muscle. We really have to get a lot of weight. If you put a 25-pound kettlebell there, most folks will not feel anything. You need to get pretty heavy. Double 45-pound plates, 90-pound kettlebell, 100-pound dumbbell, whatever you got that's heavy to really induce that creep will get the job done. So try those out. If you have other techniques besides what I showed, feel free to throw them up on here. Would love to see them. Going to be jumping down to South Carolina this weekend to watch Jordan Berry teach our lumbar spine course. I'm excited to get down to South Carolina at ProMotion. Jeff will be up in Asheville teaching cervical spine management. Those are our last 2 live courses of the year. If you're in the South Carolina area, come join us. We've got plenty of space. We're going to have a great time last couple weeks here before taking a break for the holidays. Other than that, have a great Tuesday. Have a great week. See you all next.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.